Showtime!
It's about that time.
Let's go!
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah!
Powered by LyfebloodDAO.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Chuki beat.
All right, yeah, we are back again for another show for you guys, episode 193. Yes, come, let's bring up the applause. Let's bring up the applause. We are back once again for GCOM Radio. Come on, y'all, come on, let me hear it, let me hear it, let me hear it. All right. What is going on? How's your week been? I'm back. I'm steadily going, folks. I'm steadily going. I'm trying to catch my rhythm. I'm trying to get my pacing. You know what I mean? Can you believe this is almost the end of the summer, man? I'm getting my pacing. I'm going to roll right into fall, man. So I'm looking forward to coolness, man. It's funny. You when you're in winter, you're looking forward to the warmth, and when you're in summer, you're looking forward to the winter. It's like I wish there was in between weather here. Of course, it's in between. That's why you got spring and fall. But I wish it was longer. Man, but you know, it is what it is. But I'm back here on the mic with you guys. Hopefully everything is good on your side, that you are making objectives, or you're reaching your goals, and you know, even in your failures, you're understanding how to win. That's what it's about. And let me just fix this right quick. In your own endeavors. So yeah, man, I've been good. I've been all right. Going through the rigmarole. I am, but you know, let's just get into this show, man. Let's stop all the bullshit. We got a lot of things to talk about. So what is the first thing to go? What's the first thing? Oh yeah, of course, I gotta say my intro. Yes, I am your host. Let me say that again. I keep on forgetting the intro sometimes. Yes, I am your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And our first topic for the show for GCOM Radio is, well, you know what? First and foremost, I would like to, man, so many people have passed. There's a lot of people passing away. It's wild. I like to shout out Magoo, man. Shout out Magoo. He's a rapper that lived back in the day. Not back in the day. I'm looking at my thing. I can't remember Timbaland. He did a lot of projects with Timbaland. Magoo. He was 50. He passed away. And it's unfortunate. He was so young, and it's crazy. It always, when I hear these stories or these situations, it throws me off. Like, yo, how'd this happen? And you know, it does. And RIP to his family. And not only Magoo that passed away, but also the Black Godfather, Clarence Avant. My man was a definite OG in the music business. He passed away, but he lived a long life. I think he was in his 90s. And so when I hear about those, I'm less stressed, of course, less pressed, but still, nonetheless, I would say rest in peace. I hope I can live a life that he did and have an impact in the industry that he chose, in the music industry. And when you live to that age, all you can say is, man, you made it. You beat the odds, you beat the statistics, and I'm sure you had a plenty of ups and plenty of downs, and you know, life lessons to give to the youth, and you know, you did it. And now you won the race, man. Now it's on to the next level, the next big journey on the other side. So RIP to my brother Clarence Avant, and also beyond these two brothers, also I would like to give my condolences and good energy and support to the folks in Hawaii that's going through that ravaging wildfire. I would have never thought that could have happened in Hawaii. Really, I would have never thought that could have happened. I'm like, and what my thought was, how did this whole thing happen? How did a fire happen in Hawaii? Like, how did that happen? And but you know, of course, when you go digging, you start to kind of like piece it together. But yeah, man, I saw the images, man. There's so far over 90 people have died. You see the pictures of the cars burnt out, and you know, everything is ash. It's terrible. So far, I think there are additional fires in Maui. I am not so sure if it's continuing at this point, but at the time when I was just writing up on this and doing my research, seeing what was going on in Hawaii, there was additional fires that were happening in Maui. Jason Momoa, the actor, of course, you know, as Aquaman, he's asking people not to fly to Maui. There are limited resources, and the attention needs to be given to the Hawaiians to get back on their feet. Folks are going to have to tuck in their egos and their privilege. And Jason Momoa, amongst other natural-born Hawaiians, are telling people, do not come to Hawaii, please. I know you're taking a loss, but we have lost so much with our families, our friends, our homes, everything. Do not fly to Hawaii. And on that note, unfortunately, you know, when you do some, you know, investigation, what better investigations than the people that are underground that have their own TikTok accounts? And you have Hawaiians that are talking about there are still people that are flying to Miami. And there was one Hawaiian woman that was saying there were people actually swimming in the same waters where there are dead Hawaiians that are floating in the water. There's still people trying to live out a vacation in Hawaii. That is nuts. They said a flight attendant, she's telling her story where, you know, she was screaming and she was livid at the fact that there were people that were still trying to fly to Miami because they were talking about, oh, I'm having my wedding there. This is crazy. Being totally privileged. Totally privileged. I mean, there was another woman that she was hysterical and she was on her TikTok and she was crying and she had a bunch of supplies in the back and she's asking people, you know, how can you be so callous and unfeeling that you're trying to have instant gratification by coming to Hawaii while this tragedy is happening. I can't, man, I tell you, man. And of course, oh my God. Amazing how people can be so detached from reality, and they'd rather have their own joy, their own content, and block off the struggles and the hurt and the pain that other people are going through, just so they can experience their own fun in the sun. Yo, man, I send those people packing, man. I swear to you. So I send those people packing while they trying to go and yoo-hoo and trying to have fun, man. Listen, yo, whatever they got is getting burnt up. I burn it and send them. Crazy that this is actually happening. And, of course, you're doing a little bit more digging and trying to see what's going on. Allegedly, there's some little background to how the fires happen. So I'm looking, and, this is just a conversation. There's some of the information that I do not have any hardcore evidence on. I'm just having a conversation with you, with all of you. There were actually talk of the Hawaiian Power Company that actually were supposed to take care of the power lines. And power lines, of course, if you don't know, the power lines should be 10 feet away, minimum, away from any trees or anything that could cause any fires. Unfortunately, there was nothing but tree branches and trees almost surrounding some of these power lines. They were not being kept. The Hawaiian Electric Company were not really taking care of maintaining the distance from these trees. And of course, this is how some possible that these fires started. Again, I'm like, how did this happen? So this man that runs the Hawaiian Electric Company, Mr. Scott Sue, he runs it, and he's responsible for maintaining the safety and operation of the power grid. And of course, that includes cutting back some of these trees to keep them from catching fire. And this man, they say, has made millions and millions of dollars year over year. I don't know why or what awards he's been getting, but it went from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million, I think, in 2020 or 21 or something like that. So he's very good. He's very good, and I don't know what warranted, again, him getting all this money, because now look at it. You have these fires that potentially started from trees that were not properly maintained. Here's another thing I'm going to say, allegedly. This is just a conversation. They're saying that some time ago, many years ago, the Hawaiian government officials said that the area, and the ones that I'm talking about, the area that was damaged, no new buildings can be built until a serious natural disaster occurred. Some law that they put together to say, hey man, there's some rules to this in terms of how new buildings, new structures get built, and it can't get built not unless a natural disaster occurs. And here we go. We have a fire that happened. Oh man, I cannot wait for them to do a proper official investigation on the source of these fires. So this fire happened. Now, on another little piece of information that I found on TikTok, another individual saying that's connected to this supposed law, people are actually calling their insurance companies, of course, to get the money back from the homes that they lost. And the insurance companies are turning them down because they're saying there was zoning infractions with all of these homes on the land, and they would not honor the policy. They would not honor the policy. And in the same breath that I can say, in the same magical time, you have developers that I believe they were connected to this law as far as people not being able to build new structures unless there was a natural disaster. There were Hawaiian elders that were battling against these developers. At the same time, these developers have swooped in and already calling people to buy the land where their homes have been brought down to ash. How coincidental? Again, I don't have any evidence. These are some of the thoughts that people are sharing on TikTok, that are intimately aware and of what's going on the ground in Hawaii, and that is interesting, that I have to say. Now, supposedly, they're also saying, allegedly, this was all being done to create smart cities. Hawaii, the island, they say, what better place to build a smart city than on an island? And I don't have, of course, any evidence of that. There was a couple of links. I'm sure what people can do, I did a little light investigation search. There is, just put in Google Scholar Space, Smart City in Google, Danny Tan, GitHub, and Smart City. There's some information that's linked to Hawaii being focused on these new smart cities on being put together. There's actually another, let me see. There is a paper that I found. It says, it looks like it's some sort of, it says that the title of this paper that's found online, and it says Smart City Hawaii Transforming Oahu Cities Through Sustainability Efforts and Urban Informatics, a thesis submitted to the Graduate Division of the University of Hawaii at Manoa in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Masters of Arts. So I guess this individual his thesis is focusing on building smart cities on the islands of Hawaii. Anyway, I'm not trying to put on a tinfoil hat here. Let's just say it's not smart cities because that's what's going on. Let's just say it's not nothing to do with smart cities whatsoever. But the very information that's being shared to the people on the ground, the information that's being shared with the people on the ground as far as the Hawaiian government, that saying that no new structures can be built unless a natural disaster occurs, and then the power company not really taking care of the trees that are close to the power lines, and then the insurance companies that are saying, well, no, we have zoning infractions, we're not going to honor the policy, we can't give you the money. And at the same time, so coincidental that these developers that are coming in that were in some way attached to this law that they wanted to pass as far as what was going to happen on this land, they're trying to swoop in and buy all of this land all at the same time. Coincidence? That's something that the people have to talk about and see what's happening on the ground in Hawaii. I encourage everybody to keep digging. You know how the Twitter does, and you know, not just Twitter, but you know that how the internet does, and people will share their stories on TikTok and other social media platforms, and you know, we can connect the dots. The people can connect the dots, and this comes at a time, and I know people are going to be fierce in trying to find the information on what I just shared, because we're living in a time where there is skyrocketing homeless. The housing market is through the roof. The rental market is going through the roof. There are videos again of people crying because they don't have places to live, not just in the United States, but also in Canada. There are a lot of people that are sharing the stories that they're just not able to make it, even with the new jobs that they have. So people are getting upset, they're emotional, and people are just it's not something that's like the attitude and what's generally in the air, what should I say, the emotional status of people where they're being detached or aloof, if I want to say, or not just wanting to be involved. No, that's a different time now. People understand what's happening. They're keyed into what's going on Twitter, on social media, on TikTok. People are fired up. People are sharing their stories and they're being heard. They're talking to each other. And this is not something that's just going to blow over and people can say, well, this is just what it is. I'm sure there's going to be some action on the ground in Hawaii. There's going to be action on the ground, what's happening here in the United States. And I want people to keep their ears open and their eyes open. So that's even the little things that I've been looking for, you know, when I'm trying to put in keyword search on TikTok and I'm looking at what's going on Twitter and people are sharing it. It's wild what's happening in Hawaii, man. I hope to God that that's not the case. But, you know, if it is, the people got to talk to each other, man. The people have to talk to each other. Now, there are some organizations that I can share. I was looking for that as well, that you can donate to. Now, of course, that famous company, the Red Cross got their grubby hands in on this situation. And I implore everyone that is listening to this show, I hope a whole lot of people watching this or listening to this right now, more listening than anything, do not, I'll say it as much as I can till I'm blue in the face, do not donate any money to the Red Cross, okay? They're a sham of an organization, and I stopped sharing. I mean, and it was because of Red Cross that I just don't really donate anymore to any nonprofits that are doing something. And it's sad to say, it could be about cancer, it could be about I don't know, saving the orca whales. I just don't do it because I don't know what these established institutions in terms of nonprofit sharing and helping the needy. I don't do it anymore because the Red Cross, famously, you can look it up online. I think it was a New York Times article that broke the story where the Red Cross, when Haiti had its earthquake and the Red Cross was front and center and they raised $1 billion. It was this big show. I've talked about it on the show before, and the Red Cross, they raised nearly $1 billion to rebuild the homes in Haiti. And after they raised $1 billion and people would say, what's going on? Only a couple of houses, 2 or 3 houses got built from the $1 billion. And then people were asking questions. Where did the money go? And Red Cross said it was for administrative costs. I felt so freaking hoodwinked. I felt so bamboozled. I was like, here, this organization, an institution, nonprofit that helps the people in need. And here you go, nothing happened. And they walked away scot-free. So Oh man, the Red Cross is everywhere. They're all over this. And I just ask people, donate to local organizations that are on the ground in Hawaii, that this money and supplies will go directly to the people, the Hawaiians who are in need on the ground over there. They need it. And I will put it on my page when I actually do post this, when I let people know about when the show is up. You could go to the Maui, MAUI Mutual Aid Fund. You can Google that. I encourage people to donate over there. And I got this on the local news station, KITV Island News, where you have the Maui Mutual Aid Fund that's raising money for people in Hawaii going through this ordeal. Here's another Hawaiian website that I found. You can go to hawaiipublicradio.org. They have a list of organizations that are sending supplies and money. You can go to sorry if I'm butchering this name, Queen Ka'ahumanu Center, Queen Ka'ahumanu Center. That they're asking for people to donate non-perishable foods, bottled water, hygiene products. You have the Maui Strong Fund. You can look them up. You can Google it. The Maui United Way, they're accepting donations. The Kaku'o Maui, that's another organization. They have the American Red Cross in this article. I skipped right over them. Please, any one of those organizations, I will definitely post it. Kaku'o Maui already has surpassed $100,000 now. They're aiming to raise $500,000. Any way that you can donate to these organizations, as I said before, I'm going to post it with their information, with their websites on my page. Please donate where you can. Avoid American Red Cross at all costs. Do not donate to them, only to people on the ground. And if you know anybody that's from Hawaii that may be connected to the internet, I don't know, please do share your organization that's not known. That And of course, people always have to make sure that these are legitimate organizations. You don't just want anybody just saying, yeah, I got a nonprofit and collecting money. So just make sure that you are speaking to people on the ground. You're tuning in to, especially people from the United States and around the world, are getting in contact with the local radio stations down there. And of course, they have developed relationships with the people from these Hawaiian nonprofits that are looking for donations and for supplies for the Hawaiian people. So all the best, all the love to everyone over there in Hawaii going through this situation. Next, the hip hop 50th, man, it went down. I wish I was there, but I couldn't. So it happened at Yankee Stadium. I mean, almost everyone was there. Lil Wayne, Run DMC, they kind of like ended the whole joint. I heard it was like 8 hours long, and they certainly was a cherry on the cake. Run DMC, you had the Sugar Hill Gang, of course, Melly Mel, DJ Kool Herc, the godfather of hip hop, the one who started it all at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, that I passed a number of times when I worked in the neighborhood. And yeah, I was up there, and it was good to be a part of history, be there, man. I'm a New Yorker, you know what it is. Of course, Nas was there, Ice Cube, EPMD, Snoop Dogg, Lupe Fiasco, Lil Kim, Trina, Remy Ma, Fat Joe was there, of course, looking at his slender, sexy self. Wiz Khalifa was there, Cool G Rap, that brother disappeared. Like, it was good to see him there at the 50th, man. That was what's up. Of course, as far as DJing was concerned, Manny Fresh was there, DJ Molly Mall. They were definitely on the turns that were assisting in the music. And it was lovely, man. There was one person that I know that really didn't feel what was happening, and he said it on Twitter, and it was Uncle Luke. Uncle Luke felt left out, and I actually tweeted back to Uncle Luke, and I'm like, yeah, it's the 50th. A lot was happening. It's the 50th year of hip hop, and I'm sure it wasn't done on purpose to leave out Uncle Luke. You've been recognized for what you contributed to hip hop culture, to hip hop music. Nobody, I can't believe anybody left you out just to be malicious. And I even said, you know, on Twitter for Havis can't reach out to people over there, man. I mean, this is the 50th year. It would have been dope to have Uncle Luke there on stage at Yankee Stadium. But you know, it didn't happen like that. I mean, there's a lot happening. But this is the 50th year, so I know probably there'll be some follow-up events. It would be dope to do something down in Florida. That hurt saying that. That hurt saying that state name, Florida. You could thank DeSantis for that. But I'm sure there could be something can happen in Florida or something like that to show some support, a follow-up event to some people that weren't there. Because hip hop has been 50 years old, man. You have some greats that came in, they're still doing their thing now, and the greats that we recognize from back in the day, like Souls of Mischief, Das Effects, who else? There's so many people that were part of this hip hop culture, man, that really did some dopeness from their angle, from their creative corner, man. I know when I came into hip hop, man, I was young. I probably was 9. If people don't know, when I first, in my single digit years of my life, I was listening to rock music. Yes, I went to a Catholic school. I was one of a handful of black kids. My mother wanted me to get a good education, so she sent me and my brother and my sister to parochial school. So, of course, the first music that I listened to was pretty much the hairband period back in the 80s, right? And that was my first experience in social circles, dealing with my identity, which wasn't great. I was a pariah because of we were the few black kids that were there. So you don't understand what a young black kid had to go through, being made fun of, being the odd boy out because of my skin color and what I looked like. And then I went over to my cousin's house because my cousin used to live across the street. My aunt lived across the street, rather. And I was probably like 9 or 10. And I went into my aunt's room where my cousin was. And she had the TV on. And she was playing it. And I saw this black dude on the TV. And I was like, I asked my cousin, yo, what's that? Who's this? She was like, yeah, that's KRS-One. That was my introduction to hip hop. And I was just staring at the screen. I was totally taken by this dude that was rapping and doing something weird that I've never seen before. And it caught me. I was like, what? And he was rhyming to the beat and he was going. All I could remember, it looked like he was in front of a garage door or a store with the roll down gate, and he was rapping, and I was totally enraptured by it because I was like, yo, he looked like me. He was doing something that was outside of what I was used to listening to, and it opened a whole new door for me. You don't understand. It opened a whole new door for me, and from then on, I was taken by rap. Whatever I could listen to, I was listening to. My first tape my pops bought me, it was the Fat Boys. That was my first hip hop tape. My pops bought it, the Fat Boys. I was listening to that joint. I loved it. And you know, I think at the time MTV, there was no such thing. But you know what I had, my access to hip hop was, of course, Ralph McDaniel's Video Music Box. MTV wasn't playing hip hop. They didn't even want to play Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was the man. They didn't even want to play Michael Jackson. But I rushed home to watch Video Music Box because Ralph McDaniel's coming out of Brooklyn. I was, of course, in Brooklyn. He was the dude that was putting on all the rap videos. He was the man. He still is the man. He was the man that created the shout out. Everybody that says I like to shout out, that came from Ralph McDaniels when he went to the New York parties rather, and he was asking people at the nighttime with the light shining on people's faces, who would you like to shout out? And people shouted out, knowing they was gonna see themselves on TV, their families, their cousins, their brothers, the folks they knew was locked up in jail, everybody on the block. they was like, I would like to shout out, and I loved it, man. That was Video Music Box, and that was my introduction. And I started to love myself by seeing me on television, starting with KRS-One. You don't understand how much of an impact that had on my life, hip hop music. You know what I mean? Man, I'm getting choked up here. Hip hop as a young black kid that's 8, 9 years old, seeing myself on TV and know that I can accept myself for who I was and see the beauty in me and all that I am, it started in hip hop. Understand what I'm saying? And it grew from there, and my love, it had never stopped. It kept on expanding, and I listened to every artist of the time in the early 80s, and I don't think enough credit is given to hip-hop of the 80s, because I said this on a show that whenever they do throwbacks or of the past, they stop in the 90s. They don't go beyond Biggie. I'm like, wait a second, 92, 91, 88, 86, like you missing a whole decade. What's going on here? So to see the hip hop coming at its 50th year mature, and hip hop being the first genre where black people still own it. Now, I have some issues with what's going on with hip hop now, but usually as what we understand it, all the other previous iterations, or not iterations, or musical manifestations that black people have created, because every famous musical art form in this country, black people did, from rock and roll to jazz to blues. Everything we made it hot. We created something out of nothing, and it came from right down to our spirit. And hip hop is just another movement of that. It's another manifestation of that. And to see hip hop being what it is today, where we, instead of it being, co-opted in how it was as far as in rock music, to see hip hop and still seeing black faces in there, and we still come a long way. I think at this point, black folk can control the musical landscape of hip hop. We just gotta get our heads out of our own asses. But to see that and see all those faces at the hip hop's 50th, and we're still rocking strong, and this is the culture, man. This is the culture, and I'll never disrespect it. And here's why I say that, because my brother, he's a little older than me. He started to see the issues with hip hop, and he started turning away from it. And I think that was the worst thing that you can ever do. If you have problems with something, you don't leave it. You try to fix it. You try to let people know what's going wrong and say, hey man, that's the wrong direction. And if you truly love what you're seeing, you will never let other people take it away from you. And if you truly love it, you do what's necessary to bring it to its fullest potential. And that's hip hop. My brother still listens to hip hop every now and then, but he's so busy, he doesn't really. Me, I'm all in, man. I started, that led me young age to be an artist, a hip hop, a rap artist. I was in a group, and that happened. Even though I don't write rhymes to this day, I still love hip hop. I still want to hear what's the new gens sound like, the good and the bad. And I don't think you necessarily, when you say something is bad, it has anything to do with, oh, you just an OG, man. You just don't like that music from how it was. Nah, because I want to see it grow and develop into new things. Because there's a lot of new gen artists today that I really appreciate and that I like. But there's some of them I don't really like. It's trash. But yeah, shout out to hip hop's 50th, man. 50 more years of hip hop. Let's see what we can do and take care of this culture. The art form, and hopefully we can bring back graffiti. I don't see any graffiti. All the graffiti I'm like, what happened to graffiti, man? And before it was treated like it was some sort of of course it was treated like graffiti in itself. That's what they call graffiti. And when people say graffiti, it was meant in a bad way. It was a negative connotation of that. When it was on the trains, when it was on the walls, on the side of buildings, when it was in the every nook and cranny in New York City. Now it's spread around the world. Now it's treated like a real art form that it is. It's we should bring that back. The people that are really nice with the wrist, man. DJ K Slay, I didn't know, my man. Shout out, rest in peace to DJ K Slay. I wish he was still alive to be a part of this 50th, but I didn't know he was a bomber back in the day in his younger years, 1920. Who knew? And he was mad talented. If there's a book that comes out, anybody, I think he did put out a book of his artwork, because that was a big part of his life, where he was, for years, he was bombing the side of buildings and trained the side of faces of trains and all that. So, shout out to hip hop. And also, where you have the breakdancing. Now breakdancing, they have global competitions of breakdancing. That's how far reaching hip hop is in the influence. We should bring that back right to New York and to the different cities in the United States. Because a lot of times we create things and we move on, man. It's like we just create things and people see, like, oh my God, how you guys do that? And they take on and they put their spin on it, and then all of a sudden black people, I mean, because we just do shit, you know what I mean? But I think in a lot of ways we let it go too soon, and it's not that it's gone forever. I think we just respect it and bring it back into the fold as far as breakdancing. And everything that it is, and of course, what KRS-One, my mind's going faster than my mouth. Also respecting the history of hip hop and the science. It's just not breakdancing and beatboxing and rapping and DJing and all the elements of hip hop, but it's also the science, the philosophy, which is most important. That's the glue that keeps these different things alive. And that's one thing that I wish we can have more value as far as the artists are concerned, because in this country, it's a capitalist country, it's been Disney-fied hip hop, and a lot of times even in the new gen, they're treating it as a cash cow, not really respecting it as it is. So there are a lot of positive things, there's a few negative things, but I think with the proper guidance from the OGs that are still on this planet, we can have proper guidance on where hip hop should mature. I'm not saying for it to be one thing, but it can be a lot of different things. And the only people is going to want to see the best of hip hop is the people that came into hip hop, was born into it. So a lot of times people want to complain that the corporations, they've taken in a core. I don't think so, man, because we're living in a digital age, and there are a lot of things that we can still do as the people of the culture that's going to send it down. I mean, we're living in a digital age. There's no reason why and this is one of my critiques, that the OGs, specific OGs in hip hop, can't just start talking about what's wrong with hip hop or where it was co-opted. But now that the power is in your hands, living in this digital age, the OGs should take it back. And the people that bring value to this culture is us. And we should stop, thinking that it's not ours, and it never left us. Even though corporations, I understand corporations want us to represent the worst of us. I think we recognize it, we see it, and we should do what's necessary to make sure that this survives another 50 years in the best way possible. So anyway, Tory Lanez, my man got 10 whole joints for shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the foot, and rightfully so. Hopefully when he does his 10 joints, he could get deported. Because let me tell you something, there was someone that shared something, basically the chain of events, what got Tory Lanez here. And at the very beginning, his ego and his patriarchy and his privilege, his financial privilege, every step of the way he could have turned the corner, and you could have probably had lesser of a sentence. But there were some instances where he tormented Megan Thee Stallion, certain things that he did, that he was going out there. I can't remember, I'm sorry, but someone really did put it together, and I'm like, yeah, he did do that, where he totally screwed himself up, trying to put it back on Megan Thee Stallion and everybody. He even said that he did it not directly, but apologizing, and that to me was the smoking gun. Anyway, what are you apologizing for? And he was still defiant right to the end. He deserves every year that he got. And who knows if he's gonna deport it, because he's Canadian. And it's wild, man. Up to the very last, my man is trapped in his ego and the world that he created. Talented guy, but it has nothing to do with his musical talent, but more so about his character. My man doesn't have any character, man. So he deserves every year he got. Let's see what happens. I don't know when he's going to go in. Probably see him in 2034. That's crazy. 2030. You know, he's probably not going to get the whole 10 years. He's probably going to do like 6 years or something like that. So he'll probably get out of here. He'll probably get in like 2024, and he'll get out of here 2030 or something like that. Wow, time is going, because I remember when I was a kid and I said 2030, how old I would be, and I'm an old bastard. And here we are. We're in the Jetsons future, and we're in the Terminator future, and shit still looks the same. Yeah, anyway, so moving on. So I got the Berg water, folks. I got the Berg water. The Berg water has been got. It arrived. My daughter was looking at the bottle. She sure wants to drink it, because I told her the background story. She was like, "Y'all want to drink it? Can we open it? Can we open it? Can we open it?" I'm like, "Nah, we are not opening it." Now, this is Berg water. As I said, this is iceberg water. As I said on the last show, I was curious when I ran into this article about this huge iceberg that was floating by Newfoundland. Oh, I'm saying that right. New Brunswick. That's on the east coast of Canada. Massive, and it turns out they do iceberg harvesting, or they chip off a piece of the ice in more ways than one, and they bottle it. They melt it and then bottle it. So I found a company called Berg. Supposedly this is iceberg water. It's 15,000 years, and I told my daughter if it's been ice for 10,000 years, it can wait a couple of more days until we break it and test it. So I'm actually going to do a test on. So I'm going to have Berg water. It will be tap water. It will be what was the other one? It will be, say, spring water, bottled water. And I spoke to a gentleman that I spoke about the last time, where he has his machine where it mineralizes water. Whatever the process, I have to get that bottle. I just got my testing meter, my water testing meter. So yeah, man. So it will happen by the next show. Hopefully I have everything ready to go. It'll be on YouTube, on my channel where I throw up this show. And you'll be able to see the visual, because I'm really curious how these different waters match up to each other. Now, I hope iceberg water tastes great. We'll see what happens. I spent a grip on this water. Not a lot. I bought 3 bottles with shipping. It was $100. It comes in about a little under a liter. Yeah, man, it should be pretty cool, man. It should be pretty cool. I'll let you guys know about that. So next, probably by next show, I'll be ready to go with that. Yeah. Yo, so this is interesting, man. So I'm on Twitter and I saw this guy. He was throwing down some bars in a car, right? And he was a founder. I forgot the name of the company, but he had about 16 bars of some, I guess he was an MC before, and he was spitting some rhymes, and it was about him being a founder. So I simply said, I was like, yeah, the bars is all right. I think it'd do better. I didn't know the tweet was the guy that was spitting the bars. So he was like, all right, cool. I want to hear something from you. So I was like, oh, so, me, my stupidness, with my Twitter fingers. So I'm gonna see if I can write up a quick 16. Let me see what I can do. So your boy Nova P is gonna try to see if I still got it and write 16. Let me see if I can write something about my life, and I'll respond to that guy. So I followed him. That's gonna be an interesting thing, man. I don't know. Probably once I get past this water thing, I'll see if I can find a beat and I record it or something like that. So let me see if I still got it, man. If I still got the bars, man. I don't even know what happened to any of my music. That's a wild thing. Of course, back in the day, it was on cassette tape. I have no idea where any of this music is. I'm sure the producer that I dealt with, Sharif Islam, that was my first producer. And he probably has all of it on that tape. I have no idea where any of my old music is. Probably it's in storage somewhere. Who knows? So yeah, man, we'll see how that goes. So there's a lot of things that's going on around the world on the other side of the planet. It's especially on the motherland in Africa. We have some situations going on with Niger and a lot of other different African countries are tired of France's shit. And I was like, y'all got to get the fuck out. So Niger jumped it off, and they got Burkina Faso's got Niger's back, Mali got Niger's back, and they basically want to cut ties, the colonial ties that France still has on all these certain African countries. The transatlantic slave trade didn't affect African Americans here, as we talk about all the time. It just did not affect black folk, Caribbean folk. It affected the motherland too. And unfortunately, I don't know why there is such a disconnect. Maybe there isn't. There's some people that don't really talk about it as much. But of course, everybody, when they go to Africa, they go to Ghana, and the slave port that's there, the famous slave port that even a lot of black celebrities went through the slave port and got the knowledge of the history of the area. But a lot of times people don't connect the transatlantic slave trade to the continent in a lot of different African countries. So that's how I feel. That's how I see it, because I can see the Caribbean, I see America, but we don't always involve the Africa, the continent, into the conversation when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade. And even though you have all these other European countries that had a grip on at these African countries for a while, and then they backed off, they never really fully backed off, occupying some of these lands here. Of course, they pull back, but they still have a financial stranglehold on a lot of these African countries. And right now, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. Niger, actually, the brother actually kicked out the president. It was a coup, and a coup that the people are down for in Niger and all these other countries. And this brother kicked out the president, the Niger president, right on out. And he was like, yo, listen, France, y'all gotta bounce. And everybody, all the delegates, I guess, at the what do you call it? I can't remember the name of it, the damn building. Oh my God, it was right there on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. United States or the French embassies. I guess they're telling the people at these embassies and French nationals, you got to be out, and so says, so done. So they kicked out a lot of people. So France and ECOWAS, okay, France was like, wait a second, you can't do that. We still have interests, and we're going to protect the interests of France. And you gotta get out of there. But France is not gonna go in there themselves, the threat and war and everything. But it optically would not look good for the president of France. I forgot the name of the president of France. For him to send down French troops down to Niger. French President Emmanuel Macron. It wouldn't be good for Macron to send down France. So he's actually turning to Nigeria and be like, yeah, and you're gonna go down there and protect my interests. And Nigeria was like, for real? Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. So Nigeria is in on it, and they're actually saying, hey, listen, you gotta reinstall, put back the previous Niger president, and make nice. Niger individual, I forgot the name of the general. They is like, not happening. We ain't trying to hear you. France and ECOWAS is still pushing on Niger to get the president back, but the president's not. I think I read an article where they finalized it, and he's out of here. So ECOWAS, if people don't know, is the Economic Community of West African Nations, and they're there to promote economic cooperation amongst the member states in order to raise the living standards and promote economic development. So ECOWAS is they actually said ECOWAS, the president of ECOWAS also is the president of Nigeria. That is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he actually said, he was like, listen, I will send troops down over to Niger, and I guess he kind of fluffed up his feathers towards the military leader that is at the forefront of the coup, and they're not budging. And neither is Burkina Faso. They said, and Mali, they said they're behind Niger. But when the President Tinubu, he presented it to the Nigerian council, the Nigerian council was like, hell no, we're not going over there, because of course people are aware of what is happening in Nigeria, that they're trying to finally shuffle off the last vestiges of colonialism. And they do not want war, because people smart enough on the ground in Africa do not want black folk fighting black folk over the interests of France and other European countries that may want to come in and dig in their claws, so to speak. So they're currently trying to figure out some sort of a peace between the countries. But here's the thing. There is actual a Nigerian, or excuse me, let's say Niger. There's a pipeline, an oil pipeline that goes right through Niger that's feeding oil that is owned by Chevron. Chevron owns about 40% of this pipeline, and they're in partnership with Nigerian Petroleum Corporation. And they actually supply oil to Benin, Ghana, and Togo. So there's a financial foot in this one right here with Chevron. Of course, the United States backing Chevron. So I can't help but to feel that this is definitely in some way connected to what is going on in Ukraine. What is happening in Ukraine, of course, is the proxy war between the United States and Russia. And Ukraine is in the middle, fighting off Russian troops. And of course, the mysterious explosion of the Nord Stream pipeline down in the Baltic Sea. And this was oil that was being supplied by Russia to Western Europe. There are sanctions on Russia. They are trying to stop, and the United States are trying to do anything they can to stop the flow of any type of money to go into Russia, so they can cripple them financially to some way, get them on their knees. So that happened. Nobody has claimed who was the individuals involved with the explosion of the Nord Stream pipeline. The United States did their research and said, you damn Ukrainians. They would blame it on Ukraine. It was like, Ukraine's like, we don't have the technology, the resources, and the manpower. Us? So hey man. So nobody has claimed who actually did the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, but it's interesting how the Russia is backing Niger because of the oil pipeline that Chevron owns, and you could throw in the United States to somehow disrupt the flow of oil that Chevron is benefiting from. However, a lot of these African countries, they're finally stepping up and saying, you know what? How is it that we own all of our resources and we are not financially benefiting from any of the resources that we have? All this money is still being poured into France and these other European countries. We're not having it anymore. You guys got to get the F out. We will build it. We have the resources. We will make to what we, in any fashion that we so please, and then we will sell it to you. Rightfully so. China is a developed country. They have something to offer. Russia, let's say before all this, they had something to offer. UK has something to offer. Singapore, the other parts of Asia has something. India has something to offer. South America, developed nations have something to offer. Of course, I say that loosely because of the international efforts of the United States. It's not something that was a fair deal in a lot of different ways. But the fact is, they are developed cities. They are developed countries. They have more of a say-so in how they release or trade their own natural resources. And Africa does not benefit from the resources that they have. And it's about time for Africa to get on their feet. The countries in there, Africa, do away with these damn colonial lines. And now they have to come together to now for them to benefit off their natural resources and go into real deals with France and with other these European countries so they could get up on their feet. So shout out to Africa, man. It's about time. And I fully support the efforts. I can't front because the United States and France, all these Western European countries, they are bleeding Africa. They've been bleeding Africa for decades, for years, and it's linked all the way to the transatlantic slave trade. France never left. France has been there, and it's time for Africa. Look, there's enough for everybody. But the problem is with Western society, these Western nations, it's all or nothing. It's about ultimate power, where they get everything and nobody gets nothing. And I get that ultimate power from Star Wars, from the Emperor. You know what he did when he was fighting on damn, I can't remember that part. Remember when Anakin went to go save the Emperor, because he was like, the Emperor was like, you know what, if you save me, you become my student, I'll save Padme. So he was like, oh snap, Anakin was already taken. All my Star Wars fans know what I'm talking about. And he was fighting Mace Windu, and all of a sudden he stopped Mace Windu, and then that was that time. It was his opportunity, and the Emperor shot the electricity through Mace. What did he say? I think he said ultimate power. Unadulterated power. And he, say bye-bye to Mace Windu. He got forced out the window, and I don't think he's dead, because if you don't see a person die, they're not really dead. They got to bring back Mace. Anyway, so every time something happens around the world, this is what I think. The Emperor wanted ultimate power, unadulterated power. No one else can have the power, only him. And that's a lot of these Western countries. No other country could get some. I don't care. We'll give you little crumbs or whatever. But we're taking 99.5% of all the natural resources. And that's not how it goes. Not every country does that. China struggled in its globalized world, globalization. There was a deal for a lot of the manufacturing industry to outsource a lot of the goods that are made in China. And that built up China. I saw I think it was Jordan, or I think UAE, a before and after picture. It was just desert in the 1970s, 1960s. This particular, for lack of a better word, I hate saying Middle Eastern, but Middle Eastern country. I think it was Jordan, something like that. And then it came out that like the 2000s, and they built a city, a shining city in the desert. I'm like, Africa needs that. Africa already has cities. Don't get it twisted. Africa has cities, but it could be a whole lot better. There's issues where I'm talking to people on the ground in Nigeria, and they're still having power issues. That's embarrassing. How is Nigeria, that's home to 200 million Nigerians, and they're having issues with maintained power? And I was talking to his brother that's in Nigeria, and he's like, yeah, excuse me, but we actually have these outages, and it's about for 15 minutes and it comes back on. I'm like, what? Can you imagine the United States? We have to deal with power going out, and that's just what has to happen because their infrastructure is not built to the point where it can maintain itself. That's nuts, and that should never happen in Africa. And if that needs to happen for Africa to build their city bigger, brighter, and shinier, and have free-flowing energy where it's not interrupted throughout the day, yes, it has to be done. And then trade can still happen. There's enough for everybody. There's enough for everyone. Yeah, so let's see how things go in Africa, watching closely. Shout to Africa, shout to everybody. And I'm an American. I'm just saying there's enough for everybody. You don't have to, I don't think we should live in a world where people can take everything, and the only way for this system to work is for others to suffer and eat crumbs. And that's essentially what's happening to America right now, where so much money is going to the top, to the shareholders, to these CEOs making 25, 30, 35 million a year. And then you have people crying on TikTok, on social media, that they cannot meet their bills. That is criminal. And if that's the only way that this system can work, then the system is flawed. It's broken. And it never was something that was ever, it didn't work and then became broken. It was always broken. It was always flawed. And I don't think it's like that as a capitalist. I think you can still make money and you can still have people that work for you not having to live check to check or eating crumbs or have to make a decision whether they're going to eat or they have to pay for a medical bill. I do not believe, especially in the richest country in the world, I don't think at the point where this good and bad, how this country got to this point, that people should be crying because they don't know if they're going to eat tomorrow. Yeah. So the next subject. So scientists has finally, and this may be boring to a lot of people, my listeners out there, but for those that are science oriented, I love science. I love what's going on. And I saw an article on scientists have finally figured out how to bring superconductors to room temperature. That's amazing. Or superconductors. What is a superconductor? It's a material that has zero electrical resistance and does not allow magnetic fields to penetrate it. And you have to bring it down to super cool temperatures in order for you to have this magic happen. What does the superconductors do? It actually levitates in midair. And scientists love superconductors because it's used for a variety of different things. It's used for maglev trains, MRI machines. It's used in a large hadron collider, you know, that structure that smashes atoms that smashes atoms. It's used for a lot of different things. And it's used for quantum computing. In order for quantum computing to work, it needs to be super cooled. I do believe superconductors are used in that. So in order for there to be zero electrical resistance and for there not to be a magnetic field to affect the superconductor, it has to be brought down to extremely cold temperatures. Usually when you see this trick, they use liquid nitrogen. Just go on YouTube and you can find it. It's an interesting video where you can actually, I don't know what the material these superconductors are made out of. I forgot to write that down, but it's specific material when it's super cool and you place it on a magnet. Of course, a magnet has a magnetic field around it, north and south. When it's super cool, these superconductors, they actually repel the magnetic field of the magnet itself, and that's how it's able to levitate. And not just able to levitate, but it's also locked in. I think they call it quantum locking or something like that. I forgot the name of it. But you can actually go on YouTube and you can type in superconductivity or superconductors, levitation discs, and they actually have these videos are super old, 9, 10, 12 years old. This technology is not new, where they're actually floating these superconductors on these magnets. And it's this thing that it's crazy. It's called quantum locking. Somehow the magnetic fields are they're interlinked with each other. And you can rotate it on its axis, this disc, and you can slant it in whatever direction and it will stay in place. And there's this circular thing where the magnets follow this circular pattern, of course. And so they put the superconductor on this magnet, they push it, and it just floats around on top of this magnet, locked in, and it doesn't move, and it keeps moving. And not only does it levitate on these magnets, but the guy pulled off this one specific video I saw, pulled the superconductor disc off, this puck, flipped over the glass that has the pattern of the magnets in that circle, and locked in the superconductor puck underneath. So it not just levitates, it's locked into this field where now he pushed it and it was hanging from the actual magnets that was built in the circle, and it just kept on circling, it's amazing. So what they wanted to do, of course, is figure out a way how they can have it at room temperature, and they finally did it. Again, you can look that up, and there's going to be crazy benefits as far as how it can be used for fusion reactors. Again, for the Large Hadron Collider, when it comes to quantum computing, that changes everything, and it's going to put all these things on a whole new course, and in ways where we can manipulate it to what humans need it for. So I'm excited to see how this thing plays out. It was a little sliver. It was like a little piece that they that they were levitating the room temperature superconductor, but it's the first step, and I think it's going to be wonderful, and I'm going to stay tuned in to see how that is actually going to be applied to quantum computing and maglev. I don't even know why we don't have maglev trains. We do. They have maglev trains in Japan, in China. Let me see. Let me just make sure here. Maglev trains, China. Shanghai maglev train. So they do have it. And, maglev trains, of course, it's way better than traditional trains because there's no metal on metal. And it goes to a top speed of 268 miles an hour in China. And they actually have, they're building out the construction of a maglev system to go one side of China to the next. And that's going to be amazing. Let me see if they have maglev train map in China. So here we go. Where's the maglev train in China? The longest commercial maglev system is in Shanghai, as I said before. It goes from downtown Shanghai to Pudong International Airport. How many maglev trains are there? There's only one maglev train line in commercial use in China, but it's a good start. Let's see what other countries have maglev trains. Let's see countries. Oops. Let's see here. I think it's France has it, Japan, Korea. There are only 3 countries in the world that currently have operational maglev trains. That's China, Japan, and Korea. Yo, that's crazy, man. And have you seen the underground train stations in China? Man, I feel so embarrassed as an American. Yo, super clean. I think I said this on the show, but it's super clean, man. So it's wild. It's wild to see. Granted, look, New York's train system is 100 years old, but they have done updates to a number of different stations in underground, and they look great. But when you see it in China, man, it's a different beast, man. It's just not. See, in New York, in America, it's build it brand new, modern. In 5 years' time, that shit would be so grungy and dirty. From far away, it'll look nice, but when you go up close, I'm like, oh damn, when was the last time they cleaned this place? And the video that I saw in China, immaculate. And they say even though it's 8 years old, the Chinese folks they maintain the cleanliness in the train station, and that has nothing to do with technology. It has something to do with culture. And culture is the actual thing that separates the people of tomorrow to the people of yesteryear. From barbarians to people that think of the future. And I'm not saying America are barbarians, but there are a lot of things that America does that we take in as culture, but it's really like you're knocking your head against the wall. Like, it's another conversation for another time. But just know that China, they do it up. They do it up, and hats off to China, man. Hats off to China the way they're doing things. So the last thing I like to say before I get out of here, so the Buffalo Man. Who's the Buffalo Man? Remember that there was a long time ago. Couple of years ago, they had this wild and crazy party in Washington, D.C. And the head of the circus, the ringleader, was Donald Trump. And it was during this thing where they were trying to elect, I guess, the leader of the country. I think that's what it was. And he was putting on a show, and he was a carnival barker, and he riled up his audience wild enough to try to, they were spitting their party favors and throwing up confetti, and they were having a good old joyous time with everything that was there. Oh man, they had a good time at the when they were trying to transfer over leadership powers. Yeah. Remember that time? Yeah. Anyway, there was one guy that was there that everybody knew about. He was called Buffalo Man, and you know what I'm talking about when you Google it. They also call him, I think, the QAnon Shaman. So he was arrested because it's the guy with the buffalo hat, and he was wearing, like, I guess, I don't know, sheepskin or buffalo skin or whatever, and he was tatted up, no shirt. He was carrying, I think he was carrying an American flag, and they were a famous picture with him screaming to the sky. So I call him Buffalo Man because he had the buffalo hat on. So anyway, there's this guy named Ed Krasenstein. Ed Krasenstein, and he also has a brother. And they're kind of famous on Twitter, and I still call it Twitter. He has a serious following. He's a supporter of Web3. He's an AI futurist, and he consistently does Twitter spaces. You know, he invites many different people down, him and his brother. And they had Buffalo Man as a guest. So, of course, the QAnon Shaman. His real name is Jacob Chansley. And he was the same guy that when he got locked up after the fact, he was complaining that because he was a vegetarian, he didn't like the jail food. I'm like, motherfucker, get the fuck out of here. You gonna eat this ham sandwich. You ain't got no rights, motherfucker. You ran up in the Congress building. Congress building, oh my God. I'm messing that up. My bad. I keep on trying to think the Capitol building. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm Congress building, the Capitol building. Anyway, where they were doing the peaceful transfer of power and counting the votes or whatever you want to do. The things that represents the votes. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So this guy, he served time. All right, he finally served time, and then he got off. And now he does, I don't know what he does. I have no idea. I don't know how they found this guy. I don't know how Ed found him, but they found him. So, you know, I responded to Ed on Twitter. I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to this guy. Let me hear what he got to say. So you never know, because a lot of times, you know, the mainstream media, you know, they kind of like control what people are saying. You don't really hear it from their mouth themselves, and they're telling you what they're saying. And there's a lot of times it's not what they're saying. So I'm like, all right, let me give this guy a chance. Let me hear what he's got to say. All right. But I told Ed, I was like, as soon as he starts that bullshit, heroin, meth smoking, glass dick having type of thought process, I'm a blast him. All right, and I'm gonna blast him on the show, and then I'm gonna say this guy's full of shit. And guess what? This guy's full of shit. This guy's full of shit. So he goes on the show, right? It's over 1,000 people in the room, and I'm looking around. I'm like, all right. So they ask him these questions, and he's just ranting on about total nonsense about QAnon, child trafficking by presidents such as the Clintons and the Bushes and Obamas and the Democrats, and they're saying all these things, and you know, the few rich and the privileged is drinking children's blood, all this thing. He's going on these flights of fancy. Like, this guy is really going deep in this dreamscape. And Ed, I have to say, I forgot his brother's name. I didn't write down, but Ed and his brother, they're twins now, Krasenstein. They actually are hosting this Twitter space, and they're actually trying to keep him in line. They was like, not really. What's your evidence? You're just talking. Like, what are you saying, right? They're actually trying to take his incoherent ramblings and put him into some sort of a logical thought for the people that are listening in on this show, including myself. And I'm listening. And this guy is just, again, he's the typical QAnon, just going off into this freaking matrix down the rabbit hole world. And I'm like, what? And he's rattling him on about the media. He calls it Mockingbird media because it has something to do with critical factor bypass, he says, where they keep on repeating things, and then this is how they get people to believe it. And it's just going on. And I'm like, where is this guy going? And he's very articulate gentleman, I have to say. He's not like, a speech impediment or any, typical ways how we try to look down on a person because of how they speak. No, he was very clear, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're making any logical sense. It just means you know how to pronounce words. But pronouncing words right doesn't mean you're making any sense or you have anything factual to say. Guess who else was there? Lev Parnas. You know who that guy is, Lev Parnas. He was in the room. I was like, is that Lev Parnas? Lev Parnas is the guy that was charged and jailed for almost 2 years. He was charged with fraud and campaign financing crimes when he was rolling with his old buddy Rudy Giuliani. He was run over there in Ukraine and shifting money around. That Lev Parnas, that same guy that was rolling out with that nut fucking sack, Giuliani. I can't believe he was a mayor of New York, but he was a mayor of New York, and he turned out to be this friggin' nutsack. So he got caught out there as one of the cronies, of course, the cronies of Trump, and he served time, and he was actually in the room, and guess what? He was actually challenging Buffalo Man on the words that he was saying. He's like, you can't really say that. You don't have any evidence. You don't have any sources. You're just going on with things that, that you really can't say. And everything that he was saying, anything that was the opposing argument to Buffalo Man, he was automatically trying to invalidate, say, no, that's not true. That's not true. But everything that was coming out of his mouth from his position, I guess we had to accept as fact, even without any evidence or witnesses or anything like that. Lev Parnas was saying that to him, and he's the last person you should listen to. Lev Parnas, get the fuck out of here. So yeah, it was stupid. I cut out like 45 minutes into it, 50 minutes into it. I heard enough. And it's just sad how you see people like Buffalo Man go down this rabbit hole of craziness, and then you could directly link that to a lack of education in this country, and also you can link into despair, anger, frustration with their lives and what's happening, and they have to hang on, and they have to hold on to something in their mind that makes sense. And it doesn't really have to have any logical string it doesn't have to be coherent in any way, as long as they're emotionally tied to these things for whatever they feel is right, that's making it seem right. I always think of the Matrix, what was the line he said? He was eating the steak. He was like, ignorance is bliss. He was like, hey man, he's been eating the steak. And I feel bad for him. I don't feel anger towards Buffalo Man. I feel it's just pathetic in a lot of ways, where he's living his life by these things that don't have any factual basis. They don't have no weight. And he gave away his life on those beliefs. And he ran into a government building that he had no business in, and he risked his life, and the thousands of other people that risked their lives on things that have no factual basis, that they're not concrete, they're not tied to anything that they can truly say is wrong. Now you can listen to some of these MAGA people, and their emotions are raw, and they may have validity to the sense where they do feel frustration and anger, and they know that something is definitely going wrong in this country, but they can't quite pinpoint it. And unfortunately, when they tune into the Fox News and all these other sites, they make people and other culture war talking points the targets of their frustration and anger, and they're going to take it out on LGBTQ. They're going to take it out on black people. They're going to take it out on immigrants. They're going to take it out on the lefties. And when you hear them talk, it is exactly the same of what these pundits talk about on these right-leaning shows. And I'm not just knocking the right-leaning shows. I also talk about the left wing. And as long as you could talk about culture wars on what type of socks that you like to wear, you'll never get to the root cause of why you are feeling the angst and the frustration and why you can have a better life. And that's what I see Buffalo Man in. Something happened in his life that wasn't quite together. It was a little off kilter. It was a glitch in the matrix, and he grabbed onto anything that he felt that made his life make sense. You know what I mean? To make it seem like he found something that was right. And that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people. And I feel bad for the guy. I really feel bad for him and everybody else. Now, I don't feel bad for everybody January 6th. There were definitely misguided people in that crowd, but there were definitely other more sinister characters that were in that crowd that wanted to do harm and kill people and kidnap folks and and they definitely had some things. And all in all, from the people was like, what are you talking about? This is a revolution. That lady talking about, from her to the dudes that had a plan that was going in with that lethal plan, and they had the plastic zip ties, and they were going up fatigued up. I mean, they were going in with an objective, man. They wanted to take in everybody in there, and none of it made any sense, and it directly mirrors the illogicalness of even Trump, because he doesn't make any sense, because everybody that he puts under his wing becomes his enemy later on. And Pence was that enemy at that moment. So, yeah, Buffalo Man, QAnon Shaman, Jacob Chansley. That's who he is. Yeah. So anyway, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you. I went in on time. I went in a little bit over time. I usually try to just do an hour. I'll see you next week. Hopefully I have everything that I need in terms of do this water testing thing. Hopefully I could get this bottled water quick from this machine that the brother told me online, and we can have this test on how good this iceberg water is compared to other waters that we drink. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening, for tuning in, and going through these topics with me, and I'll see you next week. I'm out.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by LyfebloodDAO for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town. We out.